Well, this isn't a particularly communist thing per se. Many communists do have this criticism. And there are a lot of left-leaning people who aren't communists that buy into this mentality and they don't realize how much harm they are doing. And it is funny to see that even when you show to them, it's like, look how many people in the comment sections are complaining, right? Like minimum wage is supposed to be a good thing, right? Look how many people are complaining that they lost their job due to minimum wage or that their life became worse because of minimum wage. And these are the individuals that you claim you're helping. And they're still in denial. I don't know what else to say. We're going to explore it in this video and you're going to see what I mean. But you probably heard this before, right? So you have, and a lot of people ask me, it's like, V, why an anime girl? Because I can look at an anime girl, but I can't stand to look at a communist. Is that a good reason enough? We need high minimum wage that big businesses can afford, but small businesses can't. We need expensive regulations on businesses that small businesses can't afford to deal with. A perfect example is the concept that on social media, everything needs to be sanitized. So like the European Union says that any hate speech needs to be removed from social media within 1 hour or something like that. And if you want to create a new social media company, if you have a good idea, if you're the new Zuckerberg, how are you going to do that? You know, like you can police your website up to a point, but when it grows too large, you're going to need to hire AI to do it. And do you have the money to do that, right? Like only big businesses can afford. So it stifles competition. We need the government to lock small businesses down during the pandemic, but leave big businesses open. And this is the point where, you know, it gets really annoying. Companies like Amazon's are too big. Capitalism has failed. Every single fucking time. And you know, like, at least I can say it's not real capitalism, because there is a time and point in history that I can say, well, that was real capitalism. And I can even say, yeah, I would like to live under that fucking system. But now, even the United States isn't considering itself to be capitalistic. Like, the official definition of the United States is a mixed economy. But it is so fucking mixed that it is advantageous for big businesses only, right? And when you put it like that, it's difficult for anyone to disagree with that, right? Like, it's so simple that a child would understand it. And yet you have left-leaning people. And look at the arguments that they are using, which I am willing to bet they don't even understand it themselves. Like, they probably went online, they saw a political commentator say this, or they saw a politician parrot it, and they just internalized it without thinking. A business that can't pay minimum wage is not sustainable. Well, then leave it the fuck alone if it's not sustainable. Why do you care? Literally, how does it affect you? Intensifies. If it doesn't exist as a sustainable business, then it will collapse, right? So why do you get so upset about it? The reality is that the word sustainable, right, like what it actually means and what the left says are two different things, as usual. Like, sustainable, it means that for the long run, it can just function properly, right? Not sustainable, it means that for the long run, it's going to end up being broken. What the left means by sustainable, it's literally, it's not leftist. That's what it means, right? They used to champion equality, and now the rallying cry is sustainability. It's literally that. When you hear the word sustainable, you need to think of communism. Regulate the shit out of it, lower the lifestyle of the most amount of people. That's what sustainability means. So, as people say, like, changing the laws so that only big businesses can function properly isn't a failure of the small businesses. And he goes, it's like, well, I advocate for a livable wage. If it doesn't pay a livable wage, you don't make enough to live. Right, so basically, when you talk about livable wages, this is like the most dumb concept that I have ever heard. You're basically saying that if a person cannot perform a work of whatever minimum wage is, right? Like, let's say, I don't fucking know how much I left it, $100 per hour probably, with the new Bidenomics adjusted for inflation, right? So a livable wage in 5 years is going to be $100 per hour. You're basically saying that anyone who cannot perform a work that is worth $100 an hour shouldn't be able to get a job. That's what they are saying. And the problem is that this is what companies do, right? Little businesses fail because they can't afford to pay that much. And big businesses, they replace people. They will say, wow, minimum wage has gone up. Oh, why is McDonald's firing employees? Oh, they're replacing their employees with AI now. They're replacing their employees with robots. What? Because for a business, it's a simple mathematic decision. They don't give a shit about you as a person. Little businesses do, by the way. I, as a small business, I do care about the health of my employees. Like, even though I have contractors, I allow them to take a break during Christmas, right? Even though I pay for a month, I don't really hire them, right? That they don't actually work for me, so I'm not obligated to do it. And I'm not a rich individual. I was like, okay, well, I do care about you because I know who you are. We talk, right? I'm a small business. But when it comes to big businesses like McDonald's, they don't give a fuck, right? So for them, it's a simple calculation. It's like, can I replace this person with an AI, and which is more expensive? And then they also look at how effective the robot is versus how effective the person is. And that's it, And if you keep raising minimum wage, at one point they will say, fuck it, we don't need human beings. We're just going to use robots. But there are like so many other things. Like I worked at KFC, and when they increased the minimum wage in Romania, a colleague of mine got fired. And he was literally told by the boss, like, this is why we need to fire you. We're doing budget cuts. It's like, we can't afford to pay people. So he gets fired. Now I have to do the job of two people. They didn't hire someone in return, right? So like everyone else that was there, and it was just me in the kitchen. I had to do the job of two people. And sure, like my wage gone up a little bit. But you know what? So did my taxes. Because that's another thing that happens. They don't tell you about it. When you raise minimum wage, you cause a little bit of inflation, and usually the government also raises the taxes. So it kind of balances out. It's more like a way to get cheap votes and fuck with people for the sake of fucking with them, So now I'm doing the job of two people. Now I'm getting paid a little bit more. I would have rather just do the job that I did before, getting paid how much I got paid before. Because a lot of people go, well, if it's not a livable wage, then why do you want to work? Well, because it's 2024, we don't work in the factory anymore. We don't work in the coal mines. Like many people, especially teenagers, when they're 18, they want to feel useful. Like this is about the masculinity crisis we talked about. Many people just want to feel useful. They want to do a job so that they can have some money to go out on a date with the girls, so that they can have some money to drive a car around. They're already living with their parents, right? So they don't need the living wage. And there are certain jobs that surely do not deserve living wage, especially not at the way the government is rating them. Like for instance, right? This is something that's probably impossible to do in America. Let's say you want your wife to sell bakeries. So this was something that was commonly done in Europe. It probably was done in America back then as well. Americans have the lemonade stands, actually. Right. And there were cases where lemonade stands kids were arrested by the feds. You can read it up in the newspapers. They weren't paying taxes, so they shut down the lemonade stand. It's just like... Oh, there's another case more recently. They raided an Amish farm. Like, there was an Amish farm that wasn't using fertilizer, wasn't using anything that's part of the regulation, so they shut it down. They raided that. America, what can you say? Yes, capitalism has failed us. You have like these families, and maybe the wife had like a small business, right? Maybe she liked cooking, so you decide to sell what she cooks to other people. Now you can do that in some countries. You can do that in Vietnam. You can do that in many places. And most individuals know it's like, well, this is coming from a household, so their expectations are lower, right? Like they expect, well, it's not going to be to the same standards as a restaurant. But they buy it. If your wife is a great chef, like eventually she can expand. I mean, KFC started like that, right? Like it had the colonel that was cooking chicken, and eventually it managed to expand and become the conglomerate that it is today. You can't do what the colonel did anymore. You can't. And the thing is, like, let's assume that your wife is making delicious cookies and she's selling it to the public, and your business starts growing and growing and growing. Well, at this point, you want to hire someone, right? But when you're looking at the living wage, you're like, holy shit, hold on. Like, I don't want to hire someone to the level that I need to pay him a living wage. You just need to hire someone to take a bike and deliver the cookies to the people that order them, right? I mean, and you get to have, like, instead of having, people doing that by themselves, now you need to subcontract, you need to get an Uber driver, like, from a big corporation, so you can suck the big corp's cock, right? It's like, wasn't it more easy when people just dealt that type of business locally? Like you had a local bakery and there was like a kid that was maybe 18, probably 16 in some countries, and he was on a bike and he was delivering the newspapers or some shit. But no, apparently not, right? Everything has to be corpo so that the corporation takes a big chunk, and then people wonder like, why is everything so expensive? So the thing is like, even when you show communists, it's like, look, this is what you're doing, this is what you're creating. They still don't want to listen. They don't want to listen. Like they can have all the kids that don't get jobs anymore, and they can complain. They won't care. And there's another thing, like this is in Romania, just so you can understand why it pisses me off the most. There was a guy, friend of mine, and he was really happy that the minimum wage is increasing. And I'm asking, he's like, do you get paid in minimum wage? And he's like, no, but it's good, it's good. It's like, why is it good? Because it helps the people. Do you know anyone that it helps? No, but it's good, it's good. I mean, it's more money, right? Of course it's good. And then he comes complaining a couple of months later that he got a fine, right? And he's like, oh, why are fines so expensive? Like I just parked in the wrong place. Why do I have to pay so much? And I'm like, well, weren't you happy that the minimum wage increased? And he's like, what do you mean? It's like, the fines are set based on minimum wage, you retard. It's like, do you not know this? And he's like, no, he doesn't. Well, if you don't know it, why do you support it then? Fucking hell, you know? It's like, at least that's how it works here. I don't know how it works there. But yeah, like here, whenever the minimum wage increases, many fines and even some taxes, they go up because they're set based on that minimum wage. And many people do have a car, and they do happen to eventually get a parking ticket or some minor traffic violation, and they're incredibly expensive. And they don't understand. It's like, well, why is it so expensive? How can I pay this? I mean, well, they're based so that the person with a living wage can pay them. You get more than minimum wage, so you pay more. Let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.